So I was going through my pantry and I got inspired to make some of my favorite soup in the whole wide world, and that's chile con carne, which basically just means chili with meat. It's a very difficult soup to find in Belgium. Sometimes you'll find it in specialty aisles in places like Deleuze, but it's just not the same as what I'm used to getting in the United States. So I'm going to be making my own today. You can see in front of you all of the different ingredients that go into our chili. I have two different kinds of beans here. I'm using black beans and borlotti beans today, but you could use any kind of beans you want. I like these because they're really, really high in fiber. I've also got about 500 grams of lean ground beef. I've got some water here that we'll be adding toward the end, and then I've got one large onion that's been diced. I have some leftover coriander from a recipe last week that I didn't end up making, so I get to use that. And same thing goes with my red bell pepper. I just had some leftovers, and I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to use it now because it was fresh and it was going to go bad. I've got 1 can of diced tomatoes, and then all sorts of different seasonings and spices I'm going to use. I'm going to use about 5 cloves of chopped garlic. I have here about 15 milliliters or 1 tablespoon of vinegar. I have 2 beef bouillon cubes that are just sitting in some warm water to get softened up. And then I've got your standard salt and pepper. I have cayenne pepper because I like some hot chili. And I've also got oregano and my tub o' cumin because no chili is finished without cumin. So in just a second, we'll get started cooking our chile con carne. Here we are with our preheated soup pan with a little bit of olive oil in the bottom, and I'm always going to begin by browning my ground beef. I'll also be seasoning my ground beef with just some basic salt and pepper, maybe a teaspoon of each. This is another one of those things that I haven't measured, and so I'll just be sprinkling it in until I think that it's finished. Alright, with just a few exceptions, all of our meat is cooked all the way through. We're going to begin by adding the bell pepper because it takes the longest to cook and soften. And then we're going to let that cook. We're going to mix that in and let it cook for probably 4 to 5 minutes. I usually set a timer, let it sit, and then come back to it because there's not a lot of stirring that needs to happen. So I'll see y'all in about 5 minutes. Next in, we will put our garlic and our onion, and we'll stir those in, and then we're going to cook again for another couple of minutes. We want to soften the onion and have it cook through just a little bit. There's my garlic. And stir that up. And at the same time, or right after I've added those two things, I'm not going to add all of my coriander. I'm going to add about half. And then I'm going to save half to add with all of my liquid. Alright, the time has come to start adding liquid and spices. I'm going to begin with my 400 gram can of diced tomatoes. And as soon as that's in, I can add my 2 beans. And we can give that a stir. There we go. Then I'm also going to add my vinegar. And I'm going to add my bouillon cubes. And I'm going to stir this really well because I don't want the bouillon cubes to stay whole like that. I want them to be broken up and dissolved into my soup. We're going to add our other spices. I have here oregano, cayenne pepper, and cumin. I would add about a teaspoon of each of the cayenne pepper and the oregano. I'm estimating. That might be even a little bit more than a teaspoon. Now the cayenne pepper, it depends on how hot you like things. A whole teaspoon of cayenne pepper is going to be pretty spicy, so you can put in a half a teaspoon if you're not a fan. Now with cumin, I love cumin, so I'm liable to put 2 or 3 tablespoons of cumin in. But you are not obligated to put in as much as I do. So I would say maybe a tablespoon of cumin. And then you go from there. So I'm going to stir all of that in. And finally, I'm going to add my water. Now I have 500 liters here, or 500 milliliters, excuse me. I don't want to drown my chili, but I definitely want to see stuff floating. Because as we cook it, that water is going to evaporate and it will thicken. Alright, so it looks to me like that is looking pretty good. Now what we want to do is we want to bring this chili to a boil and then cook it for a real long time. So let's see if we can't get it to bubble. Alright, so now that we can see our chili is coming to a boil, we are going to cover the chili and we're going to turn our stove down to medium low. And then we're going to let this cook for about 30 to 45 minutes. We have rejoined our chili already in progress, and all that we have to do is uncover our chili, and we're actually going to let it cook uncovered now for quite some time, maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. What we're doing is we are evaporating, you can see all the steam in my camera, we are evaporating water to make it nice and thick. So I want it to continue to bubble, 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 but I want it to do it uncovered, so I'll probably increase the heat just a little bit and then let it cook for another hour, so we'll see you guys soon. And here we are about 2 hours later, and it looks like we have absolutely perfectly thickened and cooked chili. The only thing that I would do to this in the end is I'd try it, make absolutely sure that I'm happy with the balance of spices, and then this chili is ready to serve in a bowl with some delicious sour cream, or in this case, I'm going to be making delicious chili dogs. Enjoy!